Steve Cooper at Purdue. Actually, this work is done while I was at St. Joe's, but that's just okay, I'm at Purdue. So my 30-second introduction is, I'm going to talk about a system called Alice. Alice is a 3D interactive animation environment to teach programming. So kids are going to write 3D movies, build 3D movies, they're going to author 3D games as they learn object-oriented programming concepts. That's enough of the 30 seconds, and I've done work with Wanda and Randy. Alice has done a lot of work in general, but I'm trying to focus here specifically on underrepresentation. And so when we pitched Alice as a context, we wanted to focus on the whole issue of storytelling as a compelling medium for students, in particular to attract students who are not white or Asian males, which is what, obviously, as we all know, tend to dominate computing, at least in the US. And then the second aspect, which I'm not really going to get to right here, is talking about programming with a purpose, which is more BPO, oftentimes is what we've done with Alice to women, though my colleagues will talk much more about outreach to women. So, as Jim presented, I was listening to Jim's talk in the beginning, going from individual one-on-one work to much larger work. I thought, that's kind of stealing my slides. Because what we began with, I began to program pathways to careers in mathematics and computer science, working, unfortunately, the northern cities outside of Boston never integrated their schools. And so in Philadelphia, in West Philadelphia, our schools are 99+% African American or 99+% Hispanic, and the schools that I worked with in particular were the African American schools. And they just happened to be community schools near St. Joe's. And we started off working one-on-one with students, one-on-10 with students, so it was very small numbers. And what Wanda and I have been very effective doing is actually building a community, which is allowing us to scale up. Jim talked about the power of writing a textbook, and I strongly agree with that. We haven't impacted hundreds of thousands of students, but we've at least tens of thousands of students, largely through having a textbook and curriculum materials available to a community. We built forums, which were a pain in the neck for the first 5 years because we had to be active in our forums because we didn't have enough of a basis, enough bodies. We've now got 10,000 people, and so we're much less active in the forums. But that was very labor-intensive as a way to build your community. We also put together, in theory, monthly, but they've become bi-monthly or every third monthly Alice newsletters because it takes a long time to do. To communicate with the community, we run regularly workshops for the community, and I've actually had the audacity to sponsor every other year an Alice conference to bring in 100, 150 folks. And so we have an advantage with many of the folks funded with size money. We're funded with education money, and so we immediately have the connection to education. I was talking with Scott in the beginning that we've got it easy because we have a natural venue to do dissemination through education. Of course, that being said, when we started with Alice, there was not a pre-CS1 course. So we did actually have to build, pre-CS1 used to be Microsoft applications. And I wasn't a fan of that. And so we actually had to build a course to train the partner to sell our textbook initially. So we actually had to build that. But education tends to be the easier way to do broader impacts. The students do Hawaiian mythology by building stories in Alice. So they had to build gods and goddesses, Pele, and some of the male gods, as a way to tell about their Hawaiian heritage through the learning about programming. So there are really a lot of very exciting things that our colleagues have worked with, and part of building the community means we get invited to write letters of support. Wanda got stuff having to go to the Big Island for 4 months to work with the team. It was really, really tough for her to do. But that was, again, one of the real benefits, was being able to work with folks who have access to, because quite frankly, there are not a lot of Native Hawaiian students who came to Philadelphia to go from undergraduate schools, whereas Hawaii had a little bit more than that. We also have, by the building of a community, which is why I stress so much the community, is it provides a test bed. When I want to put in a grant proposal and I want to get 5 or 10 people, all I have to do is put a note out to my newsletter, which goes out to 2,700 educators, and I get back 100 letters of interest, and I can pick the top 6 that I like. And so it gives me a test bed in which to be able to get folks who are willing to work with me on specific projects of interest. And so I think that this notion of building a community who's interested in what you're interested in is very important. And if you put a textbook out, you'll get somebody who's going to use it, and you get in touch with that somebody or the 2 somebodies, and you begin working with them, you'll find that they have interesting aspects of where they can go. So I'll talk briefly about what I see as a good activity, and this is clearly biased by my 2 years at NSF, but it's the ability to leverage everything you're doing into what's next. So every activity you want to do towards broader impact is how is that going to lead to my next grant, how that's going to lead to my partner's next grant, how is that going to lead to what we're going to be doing next? And so that's just my thought about how to leverage everything you're doing, and that's a critical, important thing. We don't just do activities because we have them on our list of to-dos, but there's actually a purpose for doing that. Finally, the last thing in my last 20 seconds is my observation, and this is more as a reviewer. Broader impacts almost always occur in the last 5 sentences on page 15 or on page 30 if you get a longer proposal to write. And I think this is a huge lost opportunity that you want to weave your broader impacts throughout your proposal, because you weave your intellectual merits throughout your proposal. Why not also weave your broader impacts throughout the proposal? It's a little bit more work initially, but man, oh man, it makes it easier on the reviewers. So let me stop right there, and I will turn the floor over